Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Master Division with Varys Wind here for the 5th anniversary 9-hole cup. We're gonna play a mix of the Southern Pines, Juniper Point and the White Cliff for this 9-hole cup. Make sure that you do hit the thumbs up button. Also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. You can take the next step in your game getting the ultimate tournament guides for Pro, Expert and Master, or the tour guide for Tour 7 up to Tour 13. Especially I want to mention that we're gonna do a Ultimate Tournament guide for Master Division for all our patrons to get the qualifying round guide. Then for the final round guide you need to have the Ultimate Tournament guide package in your package to receive that. Follow the info box on the right hand side to get the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there's always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. Hole number 1, and here I decided to show you a send it here because this is what we're gonna do if we do have any form of tailwind. And when we do have more tailwind and crosswind, and playing with a berserker is definitely the most suggested option. So using somewhere between 3 and 5 bars of topspin depending on wind strength and wind angle, and a little bit of a right spin. Adjustment maximum distance plus 10. And here you can see that we're falling down very far, which obviously is not something that we do want to do. And the reason we don't want to do that is because the further down we're falling, the more distance we're going to lose, which in the end could complicate things. But now we push up a certain amount just because we do have that dialed in since before. Max overpower with a slower needle, bouncing on the first fairway to the second fairway over into the rough and roll on to the what will be the fairway by the green. We could have used a little bit of right spin instead of the left spin, or just remove the left spin overall. However, it all looked very difficult, but it is not as difficult. There is some room there for error on that shot, and even if we would, let's say that we would hit the first bounce on the pad, but we would go into the rough or in the sand by the green, that shot is still going to be an easier drop for you, or at least a better drop chance than if we are going to have to lay up on the right. But if we do have a straight crosswind or a headwind off tee, then we're going to have to lay up on the right hand side and go for a rough bump or go for a backspin shot towards the pin, and then obviously the eagle won't be as common as it will be when we do have this type of wind. So if we start off with tailwind, then we're all going to be happy, because then it's going to be fun trying to go for a par 4 hole in 1, because that is definitely a possibility too. So hole number 1, tailwind, to show you the blast here to green. For hole number 2, when it is tailwind and crosswind, I would recommend to play with a wood club instead of a driver. But if it is a headwind, we're gonna have to play with a driver. Here with a northwest angle, I'm looking to play with a Guardian from absolute max distance position. 2 right spin and all but 1 backspin. You can see that the white ring is just falling into the sand and being in complete max distance with our Guardian level 9. Max plus 20, power 3 ball numbers is what I'm using here, and obviously the elevation and the club distance could be changed depending on what type of adjustment you want to play. So adjustment is done, and then the goal is to hit perfect. Perfect ball, and it's away. And here, after you have made your adjustment, you can swap to whatever power 5 ball you may want to use. You can also here play with a Wind 4 ball if you would like that. You don't have to play with a power 5 ball. We want to get the ball to be on the top right of the pin, because there is a massive funnel, and you will notice that when you play it, because this is gonna be probably one of the better chances for you to drop a par 3. If you do have a headwind, we recommend to play with the rocket to use the backspin on that club and do the same type of trick there, get the ball to bounce up on the top right of the pin to fall back down for a nice hole in 1 on hole 2. So for hole number 3, when we do have a wind that is more or less a straight crosswind, we are still going to play power slice, is going to be called. So we're looking to have the ball guideline pointing in the center of that pink bush as per default, as we do have a fairly low wind with wind 4 and moving a little bit more left. 7 topspin and 3 bars of right spin, or as much right spin you can use with that. Ball bounces on the fairway, and then the idea here is to lay up to be before the rough here at the top. This is going to be a tough drive to maintain the same type of distance and the same type of position, but as we don't really have much else to work with as when it comes to the wind, as with a tailwind we could blast it down to the right and have a short turn towards the pin. A direct headwind we're gonna have to lay up just further down and then trying to fight for eagle. But if we do have a crosswind, we kind of have to do something in between, and that shot is definitely an absolute beauty. Now, second shot, true distance with a 30% over adjustment here. So measure where the max distance line is with the B52, and then also where minimum distance line are, and then adjust from there. 2.5 backspin and 3 right spin. Changing a little bit here to go a little bit more backspin to have the second bounce before the fringe instead of on the fringe. Ball guideline to go approximately 2 green squares through the hole due to its headwind, so we're not going to fall short. Adjustment here is going to be approximately 14 rings, if I'm not counting this one wrong. Obviously, that's going to differ depending on wind strength and everything like that. So, adjustment with 2 times pull over bullseye. And then the idea obviously is to hit perfect. With a perfect ball here, we do have a decent chance. However, though, it's going to be a tough one to drop consistently here, because if we're just off with a couple of decimals with our pull, or that we are off center, then obviously we'll see different type of results. Just on the left side of that cup. Super tough miss there. But in the end, if we do have a crosswind or a headwind of T here, the albatross will be very rare. But if there is a tailwind, we can blast it down more to the right, and then we have a much greater chance for an albatross, and then the albatross will be some sort of a must if you're gonna win the tournament. For hole number 4, we do have some headwind here, and as we are focusing on keeping it free to play, at least on some of the holes here in the playthrough, I want to show you an approach by playing straight down the fairway instead of trying to go over to the right hand side. However, if you have the possibility to play with, let's say, a Wind 5 Power 5 ball or a Wind 5 Power 4 ball, that is definitely recommended, as that would technically get yourself over to the right hand side and a much easier approach on the second shot. Well, now we're playing straight down here, so just focus on this instead. Max top spin and a little bit of left spin due to the fact that we do have wind coming left to right. I would be using right spin if the wind coming right to left. Outside wall curl to the left after an adjustment of max plus 20 power 3 ball settings. And you can see, even if we do use max topspin here with Apocalypse of Late, we are nowhere close to rolling into the rough at all. As it's not a linear hole, it doesn't really matter that much how far we are reaching, but it matters how much left or right we are on the fairway after the drive. So the more right we are, the better it's going to be. Second shot, we play with our Falcon. Now we're going to use the plus yardage here as our reference. Adding spin from the plus 1 yard mark, I'm using somewhere between 2 to 3 bars of left spin. I kind of fooling myself here by going back and forth, trying to just find a consistent spot. So setting in the end with 3 left spin and no backspin whatsoever, and being just at the plus 1 yard mark with the ball guideline to hole. Adjustment is gonna be with 10% elevation, and then it's going to be slider depending on obviously what type of club distance you are in. This is not an easy shot at all to drop, but as we're playing with a short iron, we can use the plus yardage. We're definitely gonna be around the cup all the time. And it's always a beauty to be able to play with a free-to-play ball such as the Centurion here. Bouncing on the fairway up and getting that one to drop on the right side of the cup for an eagle on hole number 4. On hole number 5, we do want to play with a power 5 ball if we do have a slight tailwind, which we do have here, because pushing this drive to be above the rough and the sand with our first bounce is so valuable, because the other option we have is to bounce before the rough and the sand, and I'm gonna lay up for, I would call that an eagle only play. Adjustment max plus 10, and using right spin together with somewhere between 6 to max top spin, depending on what type of wind direction we have and also what type of wind strength. As we do have a minor tailwind, we're pushing up to max to make sure that we do get the full distance on this ball flight here, which, you know, we do want to get ourselves around the trees. We don't want to flirt by maybe clipping the trees if we are unlucky. The ball rolls down here nicely, and now we're going to play a short iron to pin from here, and this couldn't really be much better when it comes to the to getting an approach on hole number 5, which is in general a pretty tough par 5. Having the first bounce on fringe, in my opinion, is the best, because that will bring you consistency. Bouncing before the fringe will bring you an inconsistency instead, so recommend to do the first bounce on the fringe. Adjusting here with true club distance with a 10% over adjustment. Unfortunately, you will notice me hitting great, but with a perfect ball this would have been very close. So, in the end, hole number 5 here offers a good chance for an albatross if we do have a wind of T that is some sort of a tailwind. If we have a crosswind or a headwind, we're going to have to lay up, and it's going to be a wood club towards the pin. But as we do have trees covering the shot then from distance, then we are going to have a very tough chance to even have a look at the albatross then from distance. So, depending on wind direction, we're going to either have some fun time or it's going to be a pretty boring par 5. For hole number 6, we're gonna go for a rough bump, and this is something I would go for in all winds besides a straight headwind. And the reason for that is that rough bump offers the best chance for an hole-in-one. However, though, we might need to play with a different club in headwind, as we're playing very close to max distance here. So in crosswind, tailwinds, we play with a quarterback. In headwinds, we can play with the rock, or we can even play with an extra mile, Thor's hammer, or an apocalypse. Here in the video, I do adjust for a max plus 10 power 3 ball settings by using the rough bump here, bouncing just left of the pin to roll up the hill to fall then back towards the pin. As I'm only using one side spin here to the left, obviously using a side spin one ball is going to be enough here. So playing with a power 3 side spin 1 plus wind 5 ball here. And I do think that the wind 5 ball here is super valuable if we compare this par 3 to hole number 2, where hole number 2 we do have a lot of room for errors, where on hole number 6 we have very little room for error, and therefore I would like us to play with a wind 5 ball here for the best possible chance for a hole-in-one here on hole number 6. Hole number 7, super tough hole here, and here I'm gonna show you an approach that gets you over to the right hand side, even though we do have some headwind. However, though, if you don't have an apocalypse level 7 plus, then you cannot play this shot. So why do I show this shot at all? It's because playing down the left hand side is only a way for you to play so you can get yourself a birdie from distance, because it's not gonna be a possibility to get an albatross playing down the left hand side, especially not with headwind. And that's why I wanted to show an approach from the right hand side to give us something. So max top spin, as much right spin possible, and then adjust with the yellow rain by the sand trap line there. Adjustment is max plus 10, and then we go with full curl to the right, and then we are bouncing to get nicely over here on the fairway. However, even though we're getting onto the fairway, this is no eagle that we're just saying, oh, it's locked in. Definitely not, far away, because headwind here is going to require us to either do a bounce over shot with a wood club further back and bouncing over a lot of rough, and you know that's gonna be very tough. So I decided to go for a rough bump here. However, this rough bump is not easy either. We really need to get the distance correct with headwind, because the headwind compressed the ball guideline, and as we roll through so much fairway, it's going to be so easy to go short on this shot. 10% elevation and true club distance, so in this instance we're playing max plus 10. Now you can't see that because of the trees, but I'm falling down into the bunker, and that's the reason why I'm using overpower here on the shot to make sure that I'm not gonna lose even more distance. But even if I do so, you can see how short I'm falling here now. and we need to get the ball guideline through the hole even more. Obviously, if we do have a tailwind of T, we can blast the ball down on the right hand side much easier, and even with a straight tailwind we could technically go for green with one of the wind 0 power 5 balls. So there is options in tailwind that is much more fun, but I felt it was value in showing a bit tougher approach here on hole number 7, as the easier ones in tailwind is pretty self-explanatory. So for hole number 8, I had the pleasure to lend a friend's replay here because I really wanted to show a play with a sniper here in the tailwinds here. So in a slight tailwind angle with sniper here, we're playing with a Centurion and playing with 2 bars of backspin, 3 right spin. You can see here on the ball guideline that is bouncing in between the bright and the dark green square row. In the video here, it's played max plus 50 power 5 ball settings. So max plus 50 power 5 ball settings, and you can see here how many, it's so many rings to adjust, and this is a difficult part obviously with a hole like this, and that's why there is value in playing with actually a less accurate club here to give ourselves the room of adjusting less rings and therefore be more accurate in that regard. Gets the ball into the green and it gets to the right edge of the cup, dropping for and holding 1 on probably one of the tougher par 3s played from the 30, or not maybe one of the toughest, but at least in the tougher category. If we would be having a headwind, we're going to have to play with a longer wood club, or we're going to have to play with a driver from absolute minimum distance, which is going to be even tougher. So to summarize this whole, playing less rings or adjusting less rings is going to help you be more accurate. So either to change with a club to a club that has less accuracy, or that you're changing a ball to play with a wind 5 ball instead. However, or regardless of whatever its name in English, getting a hole-in-one here will be definitely a massive advantage over your opponents. Every single time we've had this hole in the tournament, I've said this is probably one of the most boring holes there is. And it is, and it's the same this time. It's not gonna change. So here I'm using max top spin, 2 left spin, playing with a luminary ball, which is a ball that you have the possibility to win in tournaments. Looking at the ball guideline there, I felt we would be coming in a little bit too risky, so I'm changing to a 7 top spin and 2 left spin instead. Ball guideline straight down the fairway, adjustment here with a straight crosswind. I'm using max plus 10. If I would be playing with more of an angled crosswind, such as a northeast or a northwest wind, I would be playing no elevation instead. But here with a straight crosswind, and especially such a high wind, max plus 10 power 5 ball settings, using overpower whatever I adjust into and trying to hit perfect. Great right and great left will normally be fine here because we do have a lot of room on this fairway, and the goal here for us is to be on fairway as close to the rough line to the right possible. So in this scenario, the great right definitely was better for us, but we need to make sure to not go into the rough, because if we do, it's impossible. Doesn't matter if you have a straight tailwind on the second shot, it's impossible to reach the green in 2. Second shot, we do have a direct headwind here in the video. It's not going to be much harder than this. Obviously playing with some sort of a wind ball of T will simplify this shot, but it would still be giving you some need of overpower. In this case, we're going to back up, use all the topspin we can, ball guideline in between the rough on the left and the bunker on the right. Adjust max plus 10 power 5 ball settings, and you will notice that we're gonna go into overpower a fairly decent amount. So 2.5 rings you can see there, but even if we do go 2.5 rings in there, we're gonna use a little bit more than that. So I'm using 4 rings of overpower here to give ourselves a little bit extra, because we do want to get close to the green. We're not looking to be on the green, or yeah, definitely not going for albatross, but we're looking to be on the fringe or on the fairway just before the fringe to just lock in the eagle. Because with headwind here, it's no chance whatsoever to get an albatross. If we would have tailwind of T, there is some power slides and stuff like that that are super risky due to all the water, but it could definitely be a way for you to get yourself over to the other side and have a long distance rough bump to get a chance of an albatross, which is still going to be super difficult. You will see you will see more birdies than you will see albatrosses on hole number 9. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Master Division with Various Wind here for the 5th anniversary 9-hole cup. Make sure to get yourself the Ultimate Tournament Guide package for Master to get our Ultimate Tournament Guide for the 9-hole cup. You can also get it for Pro and Expert Division, however that will be for the next big tournament. Tour guides as well, the exclusive tour text guides is also on Patreon. Link is directly in the description down below. Thank you once again for watching and good luck in your Golf Clash game.